While 230 passengers panicked, he simply said, "Roger that," and took control as if he had been flying F-16s just yesterday. Welcome to One Human, One Story. Before we tell this story, write in the comments, have you ever encountered such a heroic pilot? And if you believe that real heroes' stories should be told, hit that subscribe button. The plane was flying at 37,000 feet above Denver, Colorado. This was not a normal domestic flight. 230 passengers were heading from Los Angeles to New York. Hours into this journey, nobody expected what was about to happen. Captain Richard Sullivan was doing his routine checks in the cockpit. He was a 20-year veteran pilot. He had thousands of hours of flight experience. His co-pilot was beside him. Both were experts in their field, but what happened that day was beyond either of their experience. In seat 42C sat a quiet man. His name was Captain James Mitchell. He was 65 years old, a retired Air Force pilot, but nobody knew this. His passport simply said retired under occupation. Nobody knew what he had retired from. James had flown F-16s for 25 years. He had served in NATO missions. He had 4,000 hours of experience in fighter jets. But now he was just a quiet passenger. He was reading a book. He ignored the noise around him, because for years he had heard the sound of jet engines. This plane's engine sound was like a massage to him. It was the third hour of this multi-hour flight. Passengers were starting to fall asleep. Some were watching movies. Some were reading books. James was looking out the window. They were passing through clouds. He had seen this view thousands of times, but he felt the same excitement every time. The sky was his home. That is when something happened. Strange sounds started coming from the cockpit. At first, nobody noticed. The flight attendants were doing their routine work. Passengers were minding their own business. But James noticed, because his ear was trained. He could distinguish engine sounds. Something had changed. There was something strange in the engine sounds, as if they were experiencing power loss. James paid attention. He closed his book and listened. Yes, there was a problem. At that moment, the flight attendant started walking hurriedly down the aisle. There was worry in her eyes. James could tell how experienced she was, because he had been in such situations thousands of times himself. The flight attendant entered the cockpit. She came out a few minutes later. This time she was more worried. James stood up. He approached the flight attendant. "Is there a problem?" he asked. The flight attendant first said nothing was wrong, but James insisted. "I am a retired pilot. If there is a problem, I can help." The flight attendant was surprised. "Were you really a pilot?" she asked. James showed his military ID. "I flew F-16s for 25 years, he said. The flight attendant was relieved. "The captain became ill," she said. "The co-pilot is not in good condition either. Both have lost consciousness." James froze. This was impossible. How could two pilots get sick at the same time? But it was real. The flight attendant took him to the cockpit. When James entered, the scene was terrifying. Both pilots were unconscious in their seats. They were breathing, but unconscious. The autopilot was engaged. The plane continued to fly straight, but how long would this situation last? James immediately took the radio. "Mayday, Mayday, this is United 447. We have an emergency. Our pilots are unconscious." The tower immediately responded. "United 447 understand the situation. What is the condition of your pilots?" James answered. "Both pilots are unconscious. I am a retired Air Force pilot. I can take control." The tower was surprised. "What type of aircraft did you fly?" "F-16 Falcon. I have 25 years of experience." James spoke with the voice from his old days. Firm, decisive, and clear, as if he had been in the cockpit just yesterday. The tower started giving him instructions, but James already knew what he needed to do. First, he checked the pilots. Their pulse was close to normal, but their consciousness was off, probably food poisoning, because they both ate the same meal. Now the lives of 230 passengers were in James' hands, but he did not panic, because he had faced more difficult situations. He had experienced engine failure in a fighter jet in enemy territory. He had returned to base with a single engine. This was easier for him, because this plane had two engines, and both were sound. He turned off the autopilot. He took control. The plane swayed slightly, but James balanced it, as if one never forgets how to ride a bicycle. Everything came back. His hands naturally found the controls. His eyes automatically scanned the instruments. This was an instinct from years of doing it. The flight attendant did not know what to tell the passengers. James told her to say this. Our captain became ill, but an experienced pilot has taken control. Everything is fine. Passengers should not worry. The flight attendant made the announcement. There was slight movement among the passengers, but no panic, because the plane continued normally. James continued talking to the tower. Where is the nearest airport? Denver International is 150 miles away. Prepare for landing. James knew Denver. He had landed there on military exercises. He knew the runway length. He knew the landing procedures. This gave him an advantage. He directed the plane to Denver. He started preparing for landing. This was a big plane, very different from the F-16, but the basic principles were the same. Speed control, altitude control, direction control. Denver Tower. We are coming, he said. Prepare for landing. Have ambulances ready. We have 2 sick pilots. The tower was giving him full support. They had cleared the runway. Fire trucks were waiting. Ambulances were ready. Everything was in James' hands. He started the landing procedure. He was gradually reducing altitude. He was controlling speed. The plane was descending steadily. Passengers were starting to notice something, but there was no panic because everything looked controlled. James' voice sounded calm and confident. The answers he gave on the radio were professional. Denver Tower, we have full confidence in you, they said. James thanked them, but he did not lose focus. Landing was the most critical moment. In the F-16, he was alone. Now he had the responsibility of 230 people, but this did not scare him. On the contrary, it made him more careful. They approached the runway. Denver lights were visible. The weather was good. Wind was calm. Ideal conditions for landing. James made his final checks. He opened the landing gear. He adjusted the flaps. He reduced speed. He aligned with the runway. 1,000 feet left, 500 feet, 100 feet, 50 feet, touchdown. It was a perfect landing. The plane stopped smoothly on the runway. Passengers started applauding. James let go of control. He took a deep breath. After 25 years, he had saved lives again. Ambulances came immediately. The pilots were taken to the hospital. Both would survive. It was just food poisoning. James came out of the cockpit. Passengers were curious about him. Who was this man? Where did he come from? How did he know how to fly a plane? But James did not want to talk. I just did my duty, he said. He said nothing else. Airport officials came. They wanted to take a report. James told his background. 25 years, Air Force pilot, military exercises, thousands of hours of experience. Everyone was surprised. They did not know who this man was. He was just an ordinary passenger sitting in seat 42C, but actually, he was a warrior. He was the former commander of the sky. Media came. They wanted to do interviews. James refused. He did not want to give his name. He did not want photos taken. I just did my duty, he kept saying. The next day, newspapers wrote about it, but James' name was not there. It just said, retired Air Force pilot. That was how he wanted it. James returned home. His wife was waiting at the airport. She had learned everything from the news, but she was not surprised because she knew her husband. He had done such missions for 25 years. This was just one of them. They went home. James did not talk at all, as if nothing had happened. But that night, there was news on television. The mysterious pilot who saved the lives of 230 passengers. James took the remote control. He changed the channel. He did not like watching such things, because he had done his duty, nothing more. But the whole world was talking about him. It had gone viral on social media, but nobody knew who he was. James wanted it that way, because real heroes work silently. They do not expect applause. They do not expect thanks. They just do their duties. James returned to normal the next morning. He watered his garden. He read his newspaper. He chatted with his neighbors. None of them knew who he was. In the neighborhood, he was just retired Uncle James. But actually, he was the hero who saved 230 lives, and it would stay that way. Because real heroes are like this. They come quietly. They do their work. They leave quietly. Is there someone like this among you? Someone who looks ordinary, but has an extraordinary past? Tell us in the comments. We want to hear their stories. Because at One Human One Story, we believe that the most powerful stories do not shout, they wait. If this story touched you, subscribe, share, help these voices live. See you in the next story. Until then, when you see someone sitting next to you on a plane, pay attention. Maybe you are sitting next to a hero.